Other than avoiding injuries, what are the top 3 things you hope to see from the Jags when they face the Falcons tonight? Tom, give us one thing you're going to be honing in on that you'd like to see the Jags accomplish tonight.
You know what I'd really like to see? I'd like to see my starting offense with my franchise quarterback take the ball down the field and have a nice mix of run and pass and have a nice drive with no hiccups, no problems. Just go down the field and score 7 points. You want to pull Trevor after that? I'm cool with that. But can we just see that? Just see some efficiency, some drives that score. Not 3 and out, not, maybe get a first down, then get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you're going against their number 2s. You should be efficient tonight. Really efficient, ready to go. And I don't know if dominate's the right word, but you should be scoring on at least a couple of your possessions.
Yeah, if they go down and Trevor's 3 of 5 and they stick one in the end zone, I probably want to see another series,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm with you. It wouldn't have to be much more than that. Like we talked about with Anthony Richardson, Tony. If you go 7 of 8, you get that many reps, throw for 65 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
And you look crisp doing it, and you had some success running the ball.
It'd be cool to see one, connection between Trevor and Brian Thomas Jr. tonight, because we didn't see that in week 1.
That's right.
The one catch he had was the 40-yarder, but that
That's
was,
right. From
with Beathard coming into the game. And last week, obviously, he didn't play. Mack had the one throw to him. It was a great play for him, but I'd like to see that connection one time. And I would add, talking about the offensive efficiency tonight, I expect them obviously to be the better side when the starters are out there, right? As we've already talked about. I would like to see at least one situation where it's 3rd and 1 or 2 and they just hand it to the back and convert it.
Amen.
Just give me 1 or 2 of those situations tonight and they get it done. It's not typical to go into any football game and go, man, can I see a 3rd and 1 tonight? Like that.
No,
but
right.
preseason, having the opportunity to get that kind of thing done with the starting offensive line out there is something I'd like to see.
And convert it not because Travis Etienne made 2 guys miss in the backfield, right? Or Tank Bigsby broke a tackle at the line of scrimmage. How about getting a crease? And convert it, and then pick up the extra on the end of it.
And then on top of that, give your quarterback a pocket. Don't let that pressure get in his face.
I mean, the O-line is really tonight, I think, what it's all about.
That's the whole
so
ball game to me, basically.
Protecting Trevor, obviously. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Trevor, beyond the health aspect of it, that goes directly to the health aspect of it, though, right? If we're going to keep our quarterback injury-free or much less injury-prone this year, going to have to show us something here. And for their sake, we haven't seen that 5 out there yet.
Oh, right.
Let's give them a chance to defy expectations or show us what they're capable of.
Yeah, just get them, confident and comfortable, working together, because if that's who you're riding into the season with, you don't want to. You want to see it tonight. You want to see some good work tonight, not pressure up the middle, moving guys around. The timing there, a lot of that running game is timing, with the backs and the blocks. So he's got to, they got to be on point tonight. Just show us, not us, just show yourselves that you can be that offensive line that we need you to be. You don't have to be top 3. I don't care about that.
No.
But you can't be bottom 3. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't be.
And to this point in the preseason process, Tommy, you were out there for the practices where, there were a lot of fireworks down the field, but the Bucs, if it was a real game, Trevor would have been on the ground for a lot of what those big plays would have wound up being. It would be, I don't think you really answer questions tonight if you're the offensive line, right? I think that you can maybe put yourself in a position where you don't provide more. And could at least provide a situation where going into week 1 against Miami, you have some kind of confidence that, we've seen those 5 guys play together. It looked fine, right? For whatever snaps we saw them against Atlanta that night. I'd like for it to, I just don't want any more questions to be added to whatever we already have about the offensive line tonight, because I don't think they can effectively answer a bunch of the questions we have until we get to the Miami Dolphins.
And look, you're right. You got to keep it in perspective. We want a good night tonight, but you should have a good night tonight, right? And you need that work together, so that's great. Get the work in and then get out. Hopefully you're unscathed, and then you keep it in perspective, because even if they have a great night tonight, we don't know. We still don't know until we go into Miami, into the regular season. But it would be a good look. It would be a good feel. And I'm not just talking about us. I'm talking about inside that locker room. So you go into that that week of the regular season going, yeah, man, I felt good about last week's performance. Even though it's against the Twos, it doesn't matter. We got some stuff done. We got some work done. Now let's go take on the regular season.
You know, one guy I'm going to be looking for tonight is Parker Washington.
Yeah.
Too, with Christian Kirk not playing.
Yeah.
I mean, Parker Washington basically gets to run with the ones tonight. Does it look the same? He's been out there very effective against the Twos for the most part, you know, and can he just kind of seamlessly pick up what he's been doing? Because, you know, he looks like a guy that if you were in the situation you were in at the end of last year, you can, you know, I know he scored a couple of touchdowns last season, but it didn't have the whole playbook down. You know, he just seems like
dropped a couple significant passes.
That jump
happens.
from year 1 to year 2, Tom, it looks like it's going to be as big for him as just about anybody, based on at least what we've seen in training camp so far.
If you had to say who's had the best training camp, he's in the running, without a doubt.
He's one to be mentioned, at least, yeah.
He looks quicker. He does look more explosive. He caught pretty much everything thrown to him. So I think he's going to be a weapon for them, and, you know, that's good. They've added to the weaponry for Trevor. You know, I have no qualms about who he's throwing to. I have no qualms about our running backs. Tank Bigsby's the guy I'm looking for tonight. Keep going, Tank. Keep showing us that you're that kind of runner, man. You know, making those cuts, being that suddenness through the hole and being tough through that hole. So, yeah, it's you know, it's all something we'd like to see.
I mean, whether the top 3 immediately are as effective as last year's top 3 when they were healthy, time will tell on that one. But I feel, you know, like Duvernay is a natural receiver.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Agnew was always a guy who was becoming a receiver.
Right, working his way.
Working on the craft.
Yep.
We got a couple specialty plays. I feel like Duvernay is more of a guy that you can line up in a lot of spots and just do his thing. But, you know, Parker Washington coming on, like I feel now that if there is that injury that carries into the regular season or you get that along the way, they're just better positioned than they were.
They've gotten faster, too.
They have. And look, Parker's doing more.
Yeah.
You know, last year he was the guy that was the backup for Christian Kirk. And when they put him on the field, they basically said, all right, put him in the slot and let's see what he can do. It does feel like he's doing a lot more, you know, in this preseason especially. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like with the positions they put him in tonight. I also think, talking about the wide receiver group, the 6, I think, are pretty clear.
Yeah.
You know, that are going to make the team with Kirk, Thomas Jr., Gabe Davis, Parker Washington, Devin Duvernay, Tim Jones, I think are going to be on the roster, right? Tim Jones, obviously, for special teams. Do any of the other wide receivers make the decision on whether or not to keep a 7th wide receiver more difficult after what we've seen through the preseason to this point and tonight? Elijah Cooks was a guy they kept on the roster last year because they didn't think they'd be able to get him to the practice squad. I think that situation has changed. I think they can get him to the practice squad potentially this year if they wanted to go that direction with it. And there's been enough, like the drop last week, there's been enough of those kind of moments where it's like, I don't think there's a bunch of teams in the league that are going, I can't wait till they cut Cooks so that we get a shot at it.
I think he can play gunner, right? He's been playing gunner.
He does a little bit of that on special teams.
He does a little bit of that. Look, this is the cutthroat part of the business. You make those catches, you might be ahead of Tim Jones right now on that depth chart. Tim Jones is a great special teamer, but if you could do what Tim Jones does on special teams, and be a weapon, you jump ahead of him.
Obviously, they'd prefer
dropping
that.
those the pass.
The dropping of the penalty on special teams, too, last week. You know, I mean, look, you only get so many opportunities.
I know.
And I'm not saying, look, like you don't know this. You've been through this, right?
But you know what? And here's the thing, because the fight is what? The kid's got a ton of potential. Like, he's somehow got to put it together. Big, fast, seems pretty, tough. You know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, that eventually wanes. Like
the NFL is littered with big, fast, tough that
you're right,
never,
Mike. You're
never
right.
made it.
No,
you know?
You're right. You're right.
And he'll be 26 in October. He's not like a super young
kid
guy. Yeah. I'm not saying 26 is over the hill. I mean, you got a lot of good years ahead of you, but.
Yeah. I will say the Trammell kid, I wish he would
impressed
make it.
last week.
All he does is catch. I mean, he doesn't drop ball. Even during practice, it didn't seem like he dropped anything thrown his way. He found a way to get open. He's not going to blow you away with speed or anything like that, but, man, he does catch the rock and seems to get open.
I like that he turns it up quick. Like the ball hits his hands, and he's putting it away and turning upfield in the same motion. You know what I mean? Doesn't have to gather himself. And
no, right. Yeah.
I don't know what else he could have done last week.
Yeah.
You know, he was fantastic. Even got in there, returned a punt, short little punt.
But got off the field pretty quick on it.
Trying to show you that, I can do something here potentially.
Let me ask you this, because I thought about this. You know how there's always like the safe punt returner? That's not maybe going to return.
The guy who's got good hands,
he's going to catch.
Maybe not going to break a long way.
Keenan used to sometimes go back there just to make sure that the ball was going to be caught. We don't want you to really return it. Just make sure that it's caught. Is there a spot? I mean, he's got to do other stuff than just that, obviously.
I think that's Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Okay. And honestly, it may just be Duvernay, regardless.
No, it could be.
You know what I mean? The guy was the all-pro return man in the entire National Football League last year. I doubt they have many qualms about his ability to. But I know what you're saying.
Secure it.
I think, though.
If you find a spot for him, I guess that would be a spot.
Between Kirk and I think that's such a niche, so that, I think between Kirk and Parker Washington, you'd have options if you're looking for that.
Probably put him on the practice squad, though, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of spots on the practice squad.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right.
He's, again, what else could he have done last week?
No, I know.
Did what he could.
He's had a good camp.
One guy, Tom, I'm curious to get your thoughts on, because I saw you tweeting about him several times this week, is Cole Van Lannon.
Yeah.
Right? And even before PFF came out with their grades and named him the Offensive Player of the Week, the Offensive Player of the Week in the entire NFL for preseason week 2, you were just from watching and rewatching the game, you thought he stood out physically.
Well, and I thought he stood out during practices, too. He's real aggressive, and he's athletic. I think you could try him at guard. And my thinking is, like, a lot of right tackles can play guard. Not a lot of left tackles can play guard for whatever reason. I don't know if they can't bend, deep enough. They're not as powerful from that position. But a lot of right tackles are powerful, right? Typically, they're that, that mauler-type player. But regardless, I'd have him in front of the young kid from Mizzou, Foster. I would. Now, granted, he's a draft pick. I get it. But I think he's performed well enough that he would be my second right tackle. And look, leave Walker at left tackle. You know what I mean? I think he's as good as a right tackle as Walker, if not better. I think Walker's obviously better.
So you're saying,
left
like,
tackle.
if Anton were to miss a game, you'd be good with Cole Van Lannon as opposed to Walker Little playing
I would. I mean, I could see them going Walker because he's done it, but I would. I think that that young man's really, really come on. I think his aggressiveness stands out. And I'm not saying he's a full-time starter, but I tell you right now, I think you could make an argument he's number 7.
It's just an interesting
on that list
balance that they have, because like there's no doubt in my mind, if he was on the team, they'd go to him over Javon Foster right now if they needed a guy to play. Right? No question. But you do have Foster, who's going to take up a spot on the 53. You've got Anton and Cam and Walker Little. That's 4 tackles right there. Like you said, you want to see Cole Van Lannon play guard. I brought that up to Logs. Logs thinks, nope, strictly a tackle.
No.
Well,
I
don't know.
I don't want to disagree with him, but at the same time, I think a lot of right tackle. I think that kid could play guard.
I know what you're saying. It's more of that, left tackle's more about moving backwards and protecting your quarterback sometimes.
Yeah, just more athletic. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't think Walker Little is a great guard at all. I wouldn't put him at guard. I don't think he showed that he can play guard. I think he can play left tackle and he can play right tackle. I don't think he can play guard. I think Cole Van Lannon can play guard.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Jags think about it because, again, when you are even if he's not on anybody's radar in the pro personnel department, if PFF puts out that kind of write-up about him, people are going to go back and look at the film and go, hey, we need a potential swing tackle.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this guy. I don't know if the Jags can keep him. And then you wonder, does he become a guy that you can flip for a late-round pick? Or, do you just try to get him through waivers, or do you keep him? If I'm the Jags, I'm trying to keep 10 because I want as many different combinations on that offensive line
especially
as possible.
With last year when it went down.
And with Foster being basically, to me, Tony, feeling like he's on scholarship this year.
Well, and I think, too, we just had the conversation about the wide receivers, and I really do feel like you don't have to put Cooks on the roster to protect being able to keep him if you want to. I think that situation has changed a year later, which opens the door for, all right, we don't have to put 7 wide receivers on the 53.
Right.
They felt like they had to last year protect Cooks. I think this year the big question on the offensive side is, how do we keep 10 offensive linemen? Because I think they would want to keep Van Lannon for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the spot, I think, where you make the room for him is, all right, we're keeping 6 wide receivers and 10 offensive linemen. I think that's the most likely direction they go with the roster next week.
Yeah. Look, I think he's earned his right to be on the 53. I think he's played well enough to do that. I would, like I look at Foster. I don't think Foster can play guard. He might be able to play right tackle, but he can't play guard. He's not built for it. You know, I don't think. He looks athletic as all get out, but he don't look like he
I think this is a pure developmental
people,
year for him.
you know?
He'll be on the 53, and he won't be active on game day.
Yeah.
Unless you have a wave of injuries at a certain point in
Yeah.
time. I mean,
I just think Van Lannon's kind of more of a punisher, and I think he'd make a good guard. My opinion.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.